So this is kind of a neoclassical metal sound. The tune is in the key of A minor and goes to harmonic minor at times. So we've got 1, 2, minor third, 4th, 5th. And this line moves down in thirds. So we have 5, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1, 2, 7. And when we go down to here, that's our major 7th, which defines this as A harmonic minor instead of G, which would be A natural minor. Then we come up. Then it repeats. And comes up with a different contour. Third time around. And then we end with this. So you put all that together and it becomes this. Now this is actually quite difficult to get up to any significant speed because what we're doing here is we're synchronizing, perfectly synchronizing every downstroke with a fretted note. And that's no small task. So you may need to slow way down in order to do this, even if you have to play all the way down to 50, 60 beats per minute. If you're going that slow, let's say 50, probably double the tempo to 100 and play it in eighth notes. But in any case, you're going to need to slow way down in order to really focus on getting good synchronization here and then gradually build it up. Now, let's talk about the metronome for a minute, because a lot of times we can get the idea that everything needs to be played with a metronome. And the metronome is a useful tool, and it's a great objective measurement to let you know where you stand at any given moment, but it's not everything. And playing too much with a metronome can give you the idea that if you're in time with the thing, that everything's good. And that's not true, because when you take the metronome away and actually listen carefully to all the notes, you might notice that your synchronization, isn't that good, or that it doesn't sound that clear. And the metronome kind of distracts you from that, or can distract you from that. So sometimes turn the thing off and just play and really listen to the notes. Now, because this is so difficult, you actually may need a lot more practice with this particular synchronization mechanic to get it into the ballpark of where we're trying to get it. So in that case, you need to create more variations like we talked about in the last lesson. So for one thing, maybe change the patterns. Maybe or maybe something like this. And if you get tired of minor scales, how about major? So it doesn't much matter what you play, but keep the mechanic intact and move it around to different strings, play different sequences, different motifs. Sometimes you'll notice some strange things might start to happen where your mind will zero in on certain notes. They'll seem to jump out at you a little bit more. And that's a good thing, I think, because it gives you the ability to have insight into different aspects of the mechanic. Think about it in different ways, lean into it in different ways. So go ahead and allow that to happen and gradually take up your speeds. Don't worry too much about pushing the tempos, though. Synchronization is really not something that you can push as much as something that you have to relax into, and then when the coordination happens, then you can speed up. The B section moves to sets of 4. Now that ultimately can become, at higher speed, kind of a flow in the left hand, and as you speed it up you'll start to feel that. But don't forget that that flow is actually made up of a bunch of independent separate motions, and those need to be synchronized properly between the left and the right hand, and then the flow will kind of come together of itself. But don't go for the flow unless you first have the individuation of each note on time. So that comes first, and then we can allow it to build into a flow. Second time around just has a different ending. Then we move up to A, 1, 2, minor third, 2, 1, flat 7, 5. Then A, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's just the A natural minor scale in 16th notes on one string, and it's relatively easy then compared to the stuff we've just been playing, so it really gives your hand kind of a chance to relax and regroup. After that, we hit sextuplets. And then the pull-offs. That's kind of difficult to get clean, those pull-offs, but make an effort to get it clean. If you allow some noise and so forth to come in there, it's not the worst thing in the world. In fact, sometimes a little noise, a little grease, is really kind of part of the charm of the whole thing. But usually there's too much of it. So in most cases, make an effort to try to eliminate it, and then kind of let it happen as it will. And if there's a little noise, sometimes it's not so bad. And then we have a descending line that's very similar to our opening motif, but this time instead of picking, we use pull-offs and semi-harmonics.